17,000 islands, one nation, and 1,000 worlds hidden within. And yet, most people only ever hear about one place, Bali. If you stop there, you miss 99% of what makes this country extraordinary. In this video, we'll first uncover surprising facts that will completely change the way you see Indonesia, and then we'll journey through its most jaw-dropping wonders, one by one. Indonesia isn't just a country. It's a paradox, a puzzle, and a living experiment written across the equator. And here's the part nobody tells you. If you only think of it as tropical islands, you're missing the story entirely. Because this is a nation of extremes. It's the largest archipelago on Earth, over 17,000 islands scattered like stepping stones between Asia and Australia. That's a chain stretching more than 5,000 kilometers, almost 3,100 miles. To put it in perspective, that's wider than the continental United States. And yet, somehow, it all counts as one country. But here's where it gets interesting. Despite being so vast, Indonesia is united under a single motto: Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, unity in diversity. More than 275 million people live here, speaking over 700 languages. Imagine boarding a plane in one part of the country, and by the time you land an hour later, you need a completely different vocabulary just to say hello. That's Indonesia. And language isn't the only contrast. This is the world's fourth most populous nation. But at the same time, it's home to some of the most remote, untouched communities on Earth. In bustling cities, skyscrapers rise into the clouds. But travel a few hundred kilometers, and you'll find tribes who still live as their ancestors did centuries ago. Now, let's talk about fire. Indonesia sits right on the Pacific Ring of Fire, the planet's most dangerous geological zone. With more than 120 active volcanoes, it has more than any other country. And these aren't just mountains, they're history shapers. One eruption here, Mount Tambora, in 1815, was so cataclysmic that it triggered the year without a summer across the northern hemisphere. Crops failed in Europe, snow fell in June in North America, and global temperatures dropped by about 3 degrees Celsius, nearly 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Think about that. A single volcano in Indonesia reshaped the entire world. And yet, the land it destroyed also gave back. Volcanic ash made the soil so fertile that rice terraces glow emerald green across entire valleys. It's a cycle of devastation and rebirth, destruction that nourishes life. That's the paradox of Indonesia. But fire isn't the only force. There's also water, too much of it. Indonesia has over 95,000 kilometers, about 59,000 miles, of coastline longer than any other country in the tropics. The ocean isn't just scenery, it's identity. Entire cultures here are sea-based, their ancestors navigating the stars long before GPS existed. The ancient Austronesian sailors once launched from these shores, spreading their language and traditions all the way to Madagascar on the far side of Africa. Yes, if you meet people in Madagascar today, their language still traces back to Indonesia. And here's something stranger. Because of all this ocean, Indonesia is a country where land and water constantly blur. Some lakes swallow forests whole, tree trunks still rising from the surface decades later. Some beaches glow at night, lit by bioluminescent plankton, and some islands are so tiny that one strong storm can erase them completely. But water here doesn't just shape the land, it shapes belief. Indonesia is the world's largest Muslim-majority country, home to more Muslims than the entire Middle East combined. And yet, it's also officially secular, recognizing 6 major religions side by side. In one neighborhood, you might hear the call to prayer. A few streets over, church bells, and nearby, a Hindu ceremony with offerings of flowers floating on the water. For centuries, this blending of faiths has been part of daily life. Culture here doesn't just adapt, it reinvents itself. Take shadow puppetry or wayang kulit. On the surface, it's just leather puppets casting silhouettes on a screen. But behind it is philosophy, myth, and performance that can last all night long. Or consider batik, the painstaking art of wax-dyed textiles, where every pattern carries symbolic meaning, protection, prosperity, or love. These aren't souvenirs. They're codes woven into fabric, worn at weddings, funerals, even political ceremonies. And then there's the natural world, full of creatures you won't believe actually exist. The world's largest lizard, The Komodo dragon stalks the eastern islands, capable of bringing down prey far larger than itself. The world's largest flower, the Rafflesia, blooms here too, up to a meter across, almost 3 feet, and it smells like rotting flesh. And let's not forget the orangutans of Sumatra and Borneo, whose name literally means person of the forest. Watching them build a nest high in the trees feels like peeking into a mirror of our own past. But the strangest thing? For all its chaos, volcanoes, floods, earthquakes, diversity, Indonesia works. It's the third largest democracy in the world, after India and the United States. On paper, that sounds impossible. Thousands of islands, hundreds of ethnic groups, dozens of religions and languages. And yet, when elections happen, millions of people spread across a continent-sized nation all take part in the same process. Here's what makes it even wilder. Indonesia isn't just a bridge between islands. It's a bridge between continents. Geologically, it sits on the collision of tectonic plates. Biologically, it's the invisible line called the Wallace Line, where Asian species and Australian species meet. To the west, monkeys and tigers. To the east, marsupials and cockatoos. Walk across one island chain, and it's like crossing into another world. And this isn't just science, it's survival. Because as sea levels rise, many of Indonesia's islands are shrinking. Whole communities are forced to move, leaving behind homes that vanish beneath the tide. The capital city itself is sinking. Jakarta is dropping so fast that a brand new capital is being built on another island entirely. Where else in the world does an entire nation move its capital because the old one is sliding into the sea? So yes, Indonesia is beaches and volcanoes and rainforests. But it's also a living paradox, a place where one eruption can freeze Europe, where one flower can smell like death, where one language can link Africa to Asia. And if that sounds unbelievable, good, because that's exactly what makes Indonesia a true wonder. Bali is more than just Indonesia's most famous island. It's the face of the entire country. And yet, here's the irony. For all its global fame, most travelers barely scratch the surface of what makes Bali extraordinary. The island may be small, about 5,700 square kilometers, roughly 2,200 square miles, but within that space, it holds some of the most diverse landscapes in Southeast Asia. In the south, beaches like Kuta and Seminyak pulse with energy, while just an hour away, cliffs like Uluwatu rise 70 meters, over 230 feet, above the Indian Ocean, crowned by temples where wild monkeys guard the gates. But the real heart of Bali lies inland. The rice terraces of Tagalalang and Jatiluwi aren't just beautiful. They're a UNESCO World Heritage Site, shaped by a 1,000-year-old irrigation system known as Subak. Every curve of green reflects not just agriculture, but spirituality, a system designed around harmony between people, nature, and the gods. And then there's Ubud, Bali's cultural capital. Here, art spills out of every street. Traditional dances, wood carvings, and paintings that tell stories older than history books. The sacred monkey forest isn't just a tourist spot, but a spiritual sanctuary where nature and myth blend. Bali also carries the weight of faith. Over 80% of the island's people are Hindu, a sharp contrast to the rest of predominantly Muslim Indonesia. Every day, thousands of small offerings, Kanang Sari, are laid out on doorsteps, temples, even motorbikes. Life here is a constant ceremony. And just when you think you've seen it all, there's another side. Volcanoes like Mount Agung dominate the horizon, sacred to the Balinese, rising 3,031 meters, 9,944 feet. One eruption in 1963 destroyed villages. Yet locals still return to its slopes, believing it's the spiritual axis of the island. But what happens when you sail just 30 minutes away? That's where Bali's wilder twin emerges, an island of cliffs, caves, and turquoise bays that feels like a different planet. Sail just half an hour from Bali, and you'll find an island that feels like Bali's wild, untamed shadow, Nusa Penida. It's only about 200 square kilometers, roughly 77 square miles, but what it lacks in size, it makes up for in raw drama. The coastline here is a fortress of sheer cliffs plunging into turquoise seas. The most iconic of all is Kelingking Beach, a viewpoint where the land curves into the shape of a giant T-Rex. From above, it looks playful. But descend the steep, narrow path, and you'll discover one of the most secluded beaches in the world, framed by waves that crash with relentless power. And that's just the beginning. At Angel's Billabong, the tide carves out a natural infinity pool, clear enough to see every ripple of rock beneath your feet. Just around the corner lies Broken Beach, where the sea has punched through a cliff to form a perfect circle of water, forever spinning inside its rocky walls. But Nusa Penida isn't only about landscapes. Offshore, the currents bring giants. Between July and October, this is one of the few places on Earth where you can dive with the ocean, sunfish, or mola mola, a prehistoric-looking creature that can weigh over 1,000 kilograms, more than 2,200 pounds. Nusa Penida is wild, unforgiving, and unforgettable. And if you think that's impressive, wait until you cross to its smaller neighbors, where the pace slows down and paradise feels even closer. Just across a narrow channel from Nusa Penida lies a different world, Nusa Lembongan and Nusa Senengan. These islands are tiny, together only about 12 square kilometers, less than 5 square miles. But what they lack in size, they make up for in charm. Lembongan is the more famous of the two, known for its laid-back beaches and vibrant coral reefs. At Mushroom Bay, the water is so clear you can count the shadows of fish drifting beneath anchored boats. Jungad Batu, the main village, stretches along a golden beach where surfers ride waves framed by the silhouette of Mount Agung in the distance. Cross the bright yellow suspension bridge, and you're on Nusa Senengan, a place even smaller, even quieter. Here, cliffs rise over the blue lagoon, a pool of water so intensely turquoise it feels unreal. From the edge, brave visitors leap into the sea, swallowed by the color before resurfacing to cheers from onlookers above. But beneath this paradise lies a story. For generations, these islands survived on seaweed farming, their shorelines lined with green and red fronds drying under the sun's heat. Today, tourism is reshaping daily life, but the rhythm of the tides still decides everything. Nusa Lembongan and Senengan are a reminder that not every wonder is about scale. Sometimes, beauty comes in miniature. And just beyond them, another set of islands promises even bigger adventures. Northwest of Lombok lies a trio of tiny jewels, the Gili Islands. Gili Trawangan, Gili Meno, and Gili Air may be small, each just a few kilometers wide, but they've become legendary. What makes them different? No cars, no motorbikes, just bicycles and horse-drawn carts called sitamas. The pace here slows to a rhythm set by the tides. Gili Trawangan is the liveliest, famous for its beach bars and sunsets that melt behind Bali's Mount Agung on the horizon. Gili Air strikes a balance, laid back but buzzing with cafes and dive shops. And then there's Gili Meno, the quietest, where hammocks sway between palms and the beaches remain almost deserted. But the real wonder lies underwater. The Gilis are surrounded by coral reefs teeming with marine life. Divers and snorkelers come here for turtles, green, and hawksbill that glide effortlessly past as if they own the sea. Tiny, car-free, and fringed with white sand, the Gili Islands feel like an escape from time. And just beyond them, the horizon rises sharply into the shape of one of Indonesia's greatest natural giants. At 3,726 meters, 12,224 feet, Mount Rinjani dominates the island of Lombok. It's the second highest volcano in Indonesia, and climbing it is a pilgrimage of endurance and awe. The ascent isn't easy. Trails cut through forests, ridges, and volcanic slopes that test every step. But the reward? A view into one of the most surreal sights in the archipelago, Segara Anak, the child of the sea. This vast crater lake fills the summit, 6 kilometers wide, almost 4 miles, shimmering an impossible blue. And here's the twist. Rising from within the lake is another volcano, Mount Baruhari. It's like a volcano within a volcano, a reminder that Rinjani is still alive, still reshaping itself. For the Sasak people of Lombok, Rinjani is sacred. Pilgrims come here to leave offerings on the crater rim, believing the mountain is a connection between the earthly and the divine. From its summit, on clear mornings, you can see across the ocean to Bali, Sumbawa, and the endless sweep of the Lesser Sunda Islands. But climb down the eastern slopes, and another frontier awaits, an island wilder, larger, and far less visited. East of Lombok stretches Sumbawa, an island almost the size of Massachusetts, 15,400 square kilometers, about 6,000 square miles, but with a fraction of Bali's crowds. Sumbawa is rugged, remote, and raw. Its coastline is carved with bays and beaches that seem to go on forever. Surfers know the name Lakey Peak, a world-class wave that draws riders from across the globe. But away from the surf camps, villages still live at a traditional rhythm, fishing and weaving as they have for generations. The interior is just as dramatic. Mountains roll into valleys dotted with buffalo and rice fields, while the shadow of Mount Tambora looms over the north. This is the very volcano whose eruption in 1815 was the largest in recorded history, blasting so much ash into the sky that it cooled the entire planet. Today, Tambora is quiet, but its vast caldera, 43 kilometers across, nearly 27 miles, remains one of the most staggering volcanic landscapes on Earth. Sumbawa doesn't whisper. It roars, with surf, with history, with fire. And just beyond its eastern shores lies a place even more famous, an island where dragons still walk the earth. This is no myth. Komodo Island is home to the world's largest living lizard, the Komodo dragon. These creatures can grow over 3 meters long, nearly 10 feet, and weigh up to 90 kilograms, about 200 pounds. They're powerful predators, capable of bringing down deer with a single bite. But the dragons are only part of the island's story. Komodo is rugged and untamed, its hills rolling into savanna, its coastlines edged with pink-tinted sand. Yes, Pink Beach, one of only a handful in the world, glows with coral red grains mixed into the shoreline. The waters here are just as dramatic. Strong currents sweep through the straits, attracting manta rays with wingspans wider than cars, and reefs that rank among the richest on the planet. Komodo feels primeval, a land where time hasn't moved on. And yet, it's just one piece of a greater wonder. Because just next door, another island rises from the sea in a way that seems almost impossible. Tiny compared to Komodo, Padar Island is only about 14 square kilometers, 5.5 square miles. But its view is among the most photographed in all of Indonesia. From the summit ridge, you see 3 crescent-shaped bays spread out below, each with a different color of sand: white, black, and pink. Few places on Earth pack such contrast into such a small space. Getting there isn't effortless. The trail climbs steeply, the sun beating down, but with every step, the view expands. By the time you reach the top, the panorama is overwhelming. Jagged ridges plunging into turquoise seas, uninhabited coves, and the endless chain of islands stretching across the horizon. Padar is a reminder that sometimes it's the small places that leave the biggest impressions. And if this island feels otherworldly, just wait until you journey east, where volcanoes paint the landscape in colors that don't seem real. On the island of Flores rises one of Indonesia's strangest wonders, Mount Kelimutu. At its summit lie not one, but 3 volcanic lakes, each a different color. One can glow turquoise, another dark green, another deep red or even black. And here's the mystery. The colors change. Scientists believe it's due to chemical reactions in the volcanic gases and minerals. But for locals, the lakes are spiritual. They're said to be the resting place of souls, the young, the old, and those who lived with darkness. Standing on the crater rim at sunrise, the lakes shimmer like liquid gemstones. Clouds drift across, revealing new shades with every minute. It feels less like geology and more like magic. Kelimutu shows that volcanoes aren't only about destruction, they can also create beauty too strange to explain. And speaking of volcanoes, one of the most famous of all lies further west, a mountain where dawn reveals a scene so iconic it feels like a dream. Few places on Earth deliver a sunrise like Mount Bromo in East Java. At 2,329 meters, 7,641 feet, it isn't the tallest volcano, but it's one of the most dramatic. Before dawn, travelers climb to viewpoints on Mount Pananjacan. As the first light breaks, a sea of clouds swirls below, and Bromo appears, its smoking crater rising from a vast plain of ash, known as the Sea of Sand. Behind it, the taller Mount Semeru, Java's highest peak, puffs smoke into the morning sky. The landscape looks like another planet, barren, smoky, and alive. Yet despite the danger, Bromo is deeply sacred. The Tenggurese people hold the Yadnya Kasada festival each year, trekking up the crater to throw offerings of rice, vegetables, and even livestock into the volcano as gifts to the gods. Bromo is not just a view, it's an encounter with fire, faith, and the fragility of life on the Ring of Fire. And hidden in the cliffs nearby, water cuts through stone to reveal one of Java's most secret sanctuaries. Hidden deep within a narrow canyon, Matakarapura waterfall feels like a secret kept by the earth itself. The approach is dramatic. Towering cliffs rise around you, dripping with streams of water that fall like silver curtains. The main cascade plunges 200 meters, nearly 660 feet, making it one of the tallest waterfalls in Java. But it's not just the height that stuns, it's the setting. Sunlight pierces through the narrow opening above, catching the mist and turning the gorge into a shimmering cathedral of water and stone. Local legend says this was the final meditation place of Gajah Mada, the great military commander of the Majapahit Empire. Even today, pilgrims visit to honor his memory, blending history with myth in the spray of the falls. Matakaripura feels less like a destination and more like a revelation. And just beyond, another waterfall awaits, one so vast it's been called Indonesia's own Niagara. translated as the Thousand Waterfalls. Tumpak Sowu is one of the most spectacular cascades in Southeast Asia. Here, a semicircle of cliffs erupts with streams that plunge 120 meters, nearly 400 feet, into a lush basin below. From above, the panorama looks almost unreal. A curtain of white water against a wall of green jungle. But the real adventure begins when you descend into the canyon. The trail winds through bamboo ladders, slippery rocks, and streams that test your balance, until suddenly you're standing at the base, surrounded by thunder. The air is thick with mist, rainbows arch through the spray, and the roar drowns out every thought. It feels alive, a place where nature speaks with overwhelming force. Few visitors make it this far, but those who do never forget it. And nearby, another wonder waits. One that glows with fire, smoke, and an eerie blue light that seems stolen from another world. At first glance, Mount Ijen looks like another volcano, but climb its slopes in the darkness, and you'll see why it's unlike anywhere else on Earth. Ijen is famous for its blue fire, jets of flame that blaze up to 5 meters high, nearly 16 feet, caused by burning sulfuric gases. It's one of the only places in the world where this phenomenon can be seen. As dawn breaks, the spectacle changes. The crater reveals a lake of surreal turquoise, the largest acidic lake on the planet, nearly 1 kilometer wide, over half a mile. Its waters are so acidic they could dissolve metal, and yet it glows in a color so vivid it feels unreal. But Ijen is not just beauty, it's also hardship. Miners here descend into the crater daily, carrying baskets of solid sulfur that can weigh more than 70 kilograms, 150 pounds, up treacherous paths. Their work is backbreaking, but it gives the mountain a human story amid its raw geology. From Ijen's rim, the view stretches across eastern Java, a reminder that this land is as dangerous as it is breathtaking. Known locally as Jogja, Yogyakarta is where Java's soul beats the loudest. It's not the biggest city, but it's the one where tradition and creativity constantly collide. By day, students fill the streets. This is Indonesia's academic hub, home to some of the nation's oldest universities. By night, the same streets transform. Angkring and food stalls serve nasi kucing and hot ginger tea, while buskers sing under the glow of street lamps. Malioboro Street is a theater in itself, lined with boutique shops, rickshaws, and street performers. At the heart of the city lies the Kraton, the royal palace, still home to the Sultan and his family. Within its courtyards, traditional dancers rehearse, gamelan musicians play hypnotic rhythms, and rituals continue as they have for centuries. This isn't a museum, it's living culture. Yogyakarta is also the gateway to some of Indonesia's most remarkable monuments. But even without them, the city itself feels like a crossroads of time. Ancient kingdoms, colonial legacies, and modern youth culture all packed into one space. Jogja isn't just visited, it's felt. And just outside its boundaries, the stone giants of Borobudur rise from the mist. Shrouded in morning mist, Borobudur looks less like a building and more like a mountain carved by human hands. Constructed in the 9th century, it's made of over 2 million stone blocks, stacked without mortar into a perfect cosmic diagram. The temple rises in 9 levels, 6 square, 3 circular, symbolizing the path from the earthly world to nirvana. Along the way, over 500 Buddha statues sit in meditation. Some hidden within bell-shaped stupas, others gazing silently across the landscape. The sheer scale is staggering. The base alone stretches 118 meters, nearly 390 feet on each side. At dawn, the experience becomes unforgettable. The sun creeps over distant volcanoes, mist curls through the jungle, and the stone begins to glow golden. Pilgrims circumambulate the terraces clockwise, tracing the carvings like a scripture in stone. Borobudur isn't just the world's largest Buddhist monument. It's also a reminder of Java's time as a crossroads of civilizations, where Indian, local, and Buddhist traditions merged. From here, only a short drive leads to another masterpiece, one where slender towers pierce the sky in honor of the Hindu gods. Soaring 47 meters, 154 feet, into the sky, Prambanan is the largest Hindu temple complex in Indonesia and a rival to Borobudur in scale and majesty. Built in the same century, the 9th, Prambanan celebrates the Hindu Trinity, Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma. The central temple to Shiva dominates the skyline, flanked by smaller shrines, each covered with carvings depicting epic tales from the Ramayana. Walking through the complex feels like entering a stone library of myths, battles of gods, demons, and heroes carved into every surface. But Prambanan isn't only for the past. Even today, the Ramayana ballet is performed in an open-air theater beside the temples. Dancers moving to gamelan music as the illuminated spires create a backdrop few stages in the world can match. Earthquakes and time battered the temples, but restoration brought them back to glory, and UNESCO declared them a World Heritage Site. Prambanan stands as proof of Java's cultural golden age, when Hindu and Buddhist kingdoms thrived side by side, leaving monuments that continue to awe the world. And on the horizon beyond Prambanan, another force rises, not carved by hands, but by fire from the earth itself. Mount Merapi. Mount Merapi means Mountain of Fire, and it earns the name. At 2,930 meters, 9,610 feet, it's one of the most active volcanoes in the world, erupting regularly and reshaping the land around it. For centuries, villages have lived in its shadow, drawn by fertile soil despite the risk. When Merapi erupts, it sends pyroclastic flows, searing clouds of gas and ash racing down its slopes. Yet the people return, rebuilding again and again. Merapi is also deeply spiritual. Locals believe spirits guard the mountain, and each year offerings are made at its summit to keep the balance between humans and the unseen world. From Yogyakarta, the volcano looms constantly on the horizon, a reminder that beauty and danger are inseparable here. At sunrise, its peak glows crimson, smoke trailing into the sky, while ancient temples below whisper of faith and resilience. And beyond Java's interior, another chain of islands stretches into the Java Sea, where remote beaches and coral reefs reveal a different side of Indonesia's wonders. Far off the northern coast of central Java, scattered across the Java Sea, lie the Karimunjawa Islands, a remote paradise of white sand, turquoise lagoons, and coral reefs. There are 27 islands in the chain, but only a handful are inhabited. The rest remain untouched, fringed with mangroves and ringed by reefs that make this area a marine national park. For those who make the journey, often by boat from Semarang or Jepara, the reward is solitude. Beaches like Tanjung Galam stretch out empty, while shallow waters hide starfish the size of dinner plates. Snorkelers drift above coral gardens, schools of clownfish darting between anemones. Divers can explore shipwrecks, their hulls now thriving with marine life. The islands also reveal a slower rhythm of life. Fishermen set out at dawn in painted wooden boats, returning with catches that feed both locals and travelers. Karimunjawa is the kind of place people dream of when they imagine untouched islands. And yet, from here, the journey takes us not deeper into seclusion, but to the heart of modern Indonesia, a city where history, chaos, and ambition collide. At first glance, Jakarta can feel overwhelming, a metropolis of more than 11 million people and over 30 million in the greater region, making it one of the largest urban areas in the world. Traffic jams stretch for hours. Skyscrapers tower over colonial-era buildings, and shopping malls glow with neon. Yet beneath the chaos lies a city of layers. In Kota Tua, or Old Town, Dutch colonial architecture surrounds Fatahillah Square, a reminder of Jakarta's past as Batavia, the hub of the spice trade. Nearby, the Sunda Kelapa harbor still welcomes wooden schooners called pinisi, just as it has for centuries. Jakarta is also Indonesia's cultural melting pot. People from every corner of the archipelago live here, bringing their traditions, food, and languages. Markets serve everything from spicy Padang cuisine to Betawi specialties like kerek tilor. But Jakarta also faces one of the greatest challenges of any modern city: its sinking. In some areas, the ground drops more than 25 centimeters, nearly 10 inches each year. Rising seas threaten entire districts, forcing Indonesia to plan a new capital on Borneo. Jakarta is both the face of Indonesia's struggles and its ambitions. And far to the west, another corner of Java protects a secret that survives against all odds. At the very tip of Western Java lies Ujung Kulon National Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the last refuges of a species on the brink of extinction, the Javan rhinoceros. Only around 70 of these animals remain in the wild, all of them here. Unlike its African cousins, the Javan rhino has a single horn, rarely more than 25 centimeters, about 10 inches long. They are elusive, shy, and almost never seen, making them one of the rarest large mammals on Earth. But Ujung Kulon is more than rhinos. The park covers 1,200 square kilometers, 463 square miles of rainforest, mangrove swamps, and coral-fringed islands. It's also a land marked by catastrophe. In 1883, the eruption of Krakatoa sent tsunamis crashing into this coast, reshaping it forever. Today, the park is a sanctuary not just for wildlife, but for silence. Jungle trails echo with gibbons and hornbills, while offshore waters host dolphins and sea turtles. Ujung Kulon is proof that wilderness still survives on crowded Java. And from these forests, our journey leaps far west, across the sea to islands where waves, not volcanoes, define life. Roughly 150 kilometers, 93 miles, off the coast of West Sumatra lie the Mentawai Islands, a chain of jungle-clad isles that feel like a world apart. For surfers, the Mentaways are legendary. Breaks like Lance's Right and Macaronas are counted among the best waves on Earth. They're perfect barrels drawing riders from around the globe. The waters here are warm, the reefs sharp, and the consistency unmatched. But beyond the surf scene, the Mentawai are home to a people whose traditions stretch back millennia. The Mentawai tribes live in longhouses called uma, deep in the forest. Their way of life revolves around harmony with nature, hunting with bows, gathering sago, and practicing shamanic rituals that link them to the spirit world. Wild, isolated, and beautiful, the Mentawai show another face of Indonesia. Not temples or cities, but a bond between humans and the sea. And across Sumatra's interior lies a wonder even greater, an inland sea born from fire, so vast it dwarfs imagination. In the highlands of North Sumatra lies Lake Toba, the largest volcanic lake on Earth. It stretches about 100 kilometers long, 62 miles, and 30 kilometers wide, nearly 19 miles. To stand on its shores is to realize you're gazing into the scar of one of the most powerful eruptions in human history. Around 74,000 years ago, a supervolcano here erupted with such force it reshaped global climate, nearly wiping out early human populations. Today, that ancient crater is filled with shimmering blue water, calm and deceptively peaceful. At its heart rises Samosir Island, larger than Singapore, where Batak villages preserve unique traditions, wooden houses with pointed roofs, music played on bamboo instruments, and rituals passed down for centuries. Lake Toba is both beautiful and humbling, a reminder that paradise often grows from catastrophe. And just beyond its shores, water falls from the cliffs in a single dramatic plunge, the tallest waterfall in Indonesia. Near the northern rim of Lake Toba, hidden among steep green cliffs, plunges Sipiso Piso Waterfall. Its name means like a knife, and that's exactly how it appears, a single silver blade of water cutting through the landscape. The fall drops 120 meters, almost 400 feet, making it the tallest waterfall in Indonesia. From the viewing platform high above, Sipiso Piso looks delicate, as if the wind could scatter it into mist. But the closer you descend, the more its power reveals itself. A steep stairway winds down into the gorge, and with every step the roar grows louder. At the base, spray soaks the rocks, rainbows arch through the mist, and the sound is deafening, a reminder of nature's force. What makes Sipiso Piso even more extraordinary is its origin. The waterfall is fed by an underground river that suddenly bursts from the cliffs, as if the earth itself decided to carve a window into the lake basin. Sipiso Piso is more than a viewpoint. It's an experience, starting calm and distant, ending raw and overwhelming. Covering nearly 8,000 square kilometers, over 3,000 square miles, Gunung Luzer National Park is one of the last strongholds of Southeast Asia's great apes. Here, Deep in the forests of northern Sumatra, orangutans swing through the canopy, their name meaning person of the forest. Watching one build a nest high in the trees feels like looking back in time at our own origins. But orangutans are not alone. Tigers, elephants, and the critically endangered Sumatran rhinoceros also roam these jungles, making Gunung Luser one of the most biodiverse places on the planet. It's part of the UNESCO-listed Tropical Rainforest Heritage of Sumatra, a treasure of both nature and humanity. The park is also a place of extremes. Mountains rise over 3,400 meters, 11,000 feet. Rivers rage through deep valleys, and humidity clings to everything. Few places test explorers like Luser, but few reward them so deeply. From these shadowed jungles, our journey leaps across the sea to Borneo, where another great ape reigns in the swampy forests. On the island of Borneo, in central Kalimantan, lies Tanjung Puting National Park, a sanctuary of rivers, swamps, and the orangutans that make this place world famous. The journey here isn't by road, but by boat. Wooden Klotok houseboats carry visitors slowly along winding rivers, their engines chugging through forests alive with bird calls and the splash of proboscis monkeys leaping from tree to tree. But the stars of Tanjung Puting are the orangutans. At feeding stations deep inside the park, they swing down from the canopy, their long arms stretching across branches. Mothers carry infants clinging tightly to their fur, while dominant males with massive cheek pads watch over the scene. Beyond orangutans, the park shelters gibbons, clouded leopards, and countless birds. Tanjung Puting is wild, fragile, and unforgettable, a reminder of what's at stake as rainforests vanish. And far to the east, another island chain holds stories not of animals, but of spices, empires, and oceans that once changed the world. The Maluku Spice Islands, scattered across the Banda Sea, were once the most valuable real estate on Earth. Nutmeg and cloves grew only here, and for centuries, traders risked storms and wars just to reach them. The Banda Islands, small in size but massive in history, became the heart of this trade. Dutch forts still stand over harbors, where wooden ships once loaded spices worth more than gold. The air is heavy with nutmeg trees, their fruit splitting open to reveal the crimson threads of mace, a sight unchanged for centuries. But beyond history, the islands are a paradise. Coral reefs wrap around turquoise bays, villages rest quietly by the shore, and the pace of life moves with the tides. Divers come from around the world to explore walls that plunge into the deep, filled with fish and dazzling colors. The Spice Islands are proof that even the smallest places can shape global history. And further east, another group of islands reveals nature's wealth, not in spices, but in reefs so rich they're called the crown jewel of the oceans. At the far edge of Indonesia, off West Papua, lies Raja Ampat, a place many call the most beautiful marine paradise on Earth. Its name means Four Kings, referring to the main islands, Waigeo, Batanta, Salawati, and Misul. But it's the waters between them that hold the true magic. Scientists estimate Raja Ampat contains over 75% of the world's coral species. That means diving here is like plunging into a living encyclopedia of the ocean. Schools of barracuda swirl in shimmering towers, manta rays glide like underwater birds, and tiny pygmy seahorses cling to coral fans no bigger than a hand. Even above water, the scenery is unreal. Karst limestone cliffs rising from turquoise lagoons, islands shaped like mushrooms scattered across endless blue. Remote, pristine, and still largely untouched, Raja Ampat feels like another planet. And if this is the crown of Indonesia's seas, then Wakatobi, further west, is its hidden treasure. South of Sulawesi, the Wakatobi Islands form a marine national park that rivals even Raja Ampat. The name itself is an acronym: Wangi Wangi, Kaladupa, Tomia, and Benongko, the four main islands of the chain. Here, the reefs stretch endlessly, often just meters from the shore. Visibility can reach 50 meters, over 160 feet, and beneath the surface, walls of coral host an explosion of life. This is a sanctuary for turtles, dolphins, and over 750 species of fish. But Wakatobi isn't only about diving. Life on the islands follows the rhythm of the sea. The Bajo people, often called sea nomads, build houses on stilts over water and navigate by stars as their ancestors did for generations. Their bond with the ocean is so deep it feels almost spiritual. Unlike other destinations, Wakatobi remains quiet, far from mass tourism. It's a place where you can walk an empty beach, hear nothing but waves, and know that beneath the surface lies one of the richest ecosystems on Earth. And to close our journey, we return west, where granite boulders and turquoise seas create one of Indonesia's most photogenic islands. Off the coast of Sumatra lies Belitung, an island of surreal seascapes. Its beaches are unlike anywhere else in Indonesia. Sweeping arcs of white sand scattered with giant granite boulders, some stacked like sculptures, others balanced as if placed by hand. The most famous is Tanjung Tinggi Beach, where turquoise water laps gently at massive stones, creating lagoons perfect for swimming and snorkeling. Offshore, small islands like Lengkuas, crowned with a 19th century lighthouse, add to the postcard views. Belitung also carries cultural charm. Once known for tin mining, it has reinvented itself as a destination of art and heritage. The local kampong villages are colorful, and museums tell the story of trade and tradition. What sets Belitung apart is its mix of drama and calm, landscapes that look almost alien, but waters so still they feel like glass. At sunset, when the sky turns crimson and the granite glows, it feels like the island is performing just for you. Belitung is the perfect finale, a reminder that Indonesia is never one story, but thousands scattered like its islands across the sea. We've crossed islands, climbed volcanoes, and wandered through jungles. But Indonesia can never be finished. It's too vast, too varied, too alive. Every island here is a story. Every horizon hides another. And maybe that's the true wonder of Indonesia. No matter how far you travel, there will always be more waiting. Another beach, another temple, another mystery in the sea or the mountains. Our journey today ends here. But Indonesia's story? That has only just begun.